Hello.
Good morning, good evening, Ted.
Afternoon.
Oh, it's not too late,
Yeah, I mean, because you guys are up at the crack of dawn, right?
at least for me, but Darren
There
is.
it is. I'm on the East Coast.
Oh, so it's still actually business hours for you. Or it's, I should say, it has become business hours for you.
Yeah.
10 a.m. Anyway.
I will give folks another few minutes to join in here before we kick it off.
Yeah,
All right, I will shut up.
I vaguely saw Jonathan in the chat window, but he hasn't joined yet. Are we expecting him on?
I have no more information than you do.
All right.
There he is.
Ted, we take the same approach. Let you share just the GitHub part document and start looking at a couple of comments. I think ESCO just opened new issues, or at least had a comment. So could use that to refresh our memory.
Yeah, I'll need permission to share.
We can give you that.
So I was joining the setup, just testing the audio.
You sound good.
All right. Ted, I think I passed you control to share.
Actually, you gave me control of slides, but
Okay.
yeah.
Wrong thing. Were we able to pass you screen control? I saw the notification pop up, but I didn't see anything that I could click on to say yes.
So
I am pressing the grant screen button on
there we
my
go.
side.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, we have our nice little video feedback, and here's the SNAC thing. Okay,
And
so
just, probably before we start, I'll just mention that the IETF note well applies to this meeting, as to all of our meetings. So, folks, if you haven't read it, go to ietf.org and about, and it's in the about section. Okay, Ted.
now is the share that you're seeing legible?
It will be eventually.
Yeah. The more you wait, the more sharp it becomes, right?
Oh dear. Are we suffering from okay, so we're suffering from transatlantic lag, I guess.
It's getting better now.
I imagine it's twice as bad for you, right, Esco?
Nah, I don't know. It's just a little fuzzy, but
weird.
think if
It's
you don't
legible.
scroll too much, it works.
Okay. Well, that's obviously not ideal, but I guess we'll cope.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first thing is just there's this pull request that seems to be outstanding that's just changing all of the uh,
SNAC back to
SNAC
Stub.
network to Stub network. Yeah, so the issue there was that we had changed SNAC or stub router to SNAC router because we needed a specific term there, but we didn't need a specific term for stub network because we're still talking about the same thing, whether the stub network is behind a SNAC router or just some other stub router. So that's this change. So I think, are there any objections to just merging this? Oh, I need to sign in.
Yeah,
Okay,
I looked at it also. Looks good to merge.
I believe there was discussion in the issue as well about saying, yes, this is correct, right? Let's not
Well,
create a new term for a stub network.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's been approved. So I guess we can just squash and merge. Okay. All right. So that wasn't a very exciting accomplishment, but there we go. So okay. So I still owe you guys the state machine for NAT64. Review if any items. So
Ted, do you need help with that?
what with the state machine?
Yeah.
Well, so actually, so one thing to let you know is that I've actually in the past month taken 3 weeks of vacation. So if you see a lack of me getting anything done, that's a good reason why. But with that said, I actually have an action item to go over the state machine and our implementation ASAP. So while I'm doing that, I could also do this because it's basically the same task, just spec versus implementation, and actually that's kind of synergistic. So I would say unless somebody is excited to jump in on that, at least give me another shot and we'll talk about it again in Dublin.
Okay.
All right. So PD per device. So yeah, ESCO had noticed I mean, ESCO, do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, I think the issue was already a bit older, so I didn't look at it recently. But there was actually
Okay.
a question pending there, so I think it was related to DHCP version 6 in the last comments.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of comments here. Sorry.
Just trying to remember what that was about. So my argument there was you could have let's see, you could have legacy IoT hosts on an adjacent infrastructure network that don't do DHCP v6. Okay.
Okay, so
I think there was a question somewhere related to this issue was whether you have devices on your infrastructure link that don't do DHCP v6,
mhm,
or maybe they don't do DHCP v6 PD client.
mhm,
So there might be devices that just get one address that way, but not act as a PD client.
right. But I don't think that's a problem. So I guess let me suggest, let me walk through what I think the issues are here, which might not be the same issues that you see, and then you can correct me. So what I would see is so the first issue is if we have a network where we're doing PD per client and DHCPv6, that is to say PD per host and DHCPv6, but we don't have any prefix that has the A bit set, right? Then right now, the current SNAC document says that's not a usable prefix, and therefore we don't have a usable prefix, and therefore we need to advertise. We need to advertise a usable prefix on that link. So one question would be, if PD per host is happening, can we not advertise a usable prefix? And I think that's sort of what you're pointing to in this last comment with the legacy IoT devices.
Yeah.
Like
So
legacy IoT devices or Android devices.
so you would typically it could happen that you have a device there in the home that doesn't know about this PD. What is it? PD per device thing. That seems kind of probable that you have devices like that. So yeah, I think we have to take that
Right.
into account. That was the idea.
Yeah. So the question is it possible or likely? Do we need to account for the case where there's a device on the network that? So there a bunch of things have to be true. It needs to actually be. It actually has to need to be able to communicate with thread devices, or we don't care. Right. That's one. Two. It does not support DHCPv6 PD per device. 3, it does not support DHCPv6 IANA, so just getting a single address. And if all 3 of those conditions are true, then we have a problem. The question is, are there cases where we anticipate all 3 of those conditions being true that wouldn't be fixed with a firmware update? So I'm going to argue in the case of Matter devices that the Matter device probably does do DHCP IANA, but correct me if I'm wrong. In the case of Android devices, the answer is upgrade to a newer version of Android, or it could be. We don't have to have that be the answer, but certainly that is an answer we could use. And so, so I guess the question is, do we need to do something special to address that particular the device that isn't going to upgrade to support PD per device, isn't going to support IANA, and needs to talk to something on the thread network? So years old printers don't need to talk to anything on the thread network. So we don't care if they can't talk to stuff on the thread network, right? So that's irrelevant. Matter devices, I think, are going to do DHCPv6 IANA, so we're okay with them. And then the question is, first, so do we care about older Android devices, or is you got to update your firmware a good enough answer? And is there some fourth kind of device that we haven't enumerated here in the, your et cetera? Is there some fourth device that doesn't support PD per device and doesn't support IANA? And if we think that there is no such device, then we should actually change the spec where it talks about usable prefixes to say that if a prefix has the PD per device bit set, that it's a usable prefix now, even if A equals 0. If we change nothing, then we're gonna wind up advertising a usable prefix. We're gonna advertise a SNAC prefix on the link.
Okay, maybe I need to think longer about this because I don't follow the logic completely. So why do we say today that prefix is not usable if the A bit is 0?
Right. So
if we think that
the
all
reason
this Yeah, we'll do the HTTP.
Right. Well, so the reason for that is that we happen to know that Android devices don't.
Yeah, that's the reason, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and in general, it's not required that devices do IANA, and therefore they are required to do SLAC, but they're not required to do IANA, and therefore we were being careful, and we knew of some specific use cases that where we'd run into trouble, and so we said, okay, if the A bit is not set, it's not a usable prefix. So really, the question is. And the whole goal of PD per device was basically the Android folks were not willing to implement IANA because they felt that it was going to lead to some serious issues that I'm not going to go into here, but I think we've heard those conversations, and so basically they wanted to make it possible for a network operator to uh, do something that Android would be willing to implement that would allow the operator control over what addressing the Android device has, and that's PD per host. So, so then, in principle, an Android device that implements PD per host can use a prefix that that supports PD per host, right? And so therefore, we no longer need that. We no longer need to. So if we have a prefix that supports PD per host, then in principle, all of the devices that I know of that we have an issue with are covered, even if we allow that prefix. We still have to disallow a prefix if it has A equals 0, but doesn't allow PD per host. If it does allow PD per host, then we don't need to advertise our own prefix. That's the theory. So I think that that's okay because I'm not super concerned about ancient Android devices, but I'm happy to be overruled if other people think we should be concerned about that. But I think generally we're kind of going towards the future here, not trying to be like we just in my mind we want to make sure that there is a way for a device to communicate with devices on the thread network, a device on infrastructure to communicate with devices on the thread network in this scenario. And but we could also just do nothing, and that would be fine.
Yeah, I think the risk is kind of for example, you got a new ISP that upgrades to PD per host, and suddenly all of your IoT applications that you have stop working because devices can't find each other anymore or can't talk to each other anymore.
So
it could be.
I think the chances of that particular scenario ever happening are 0 because ISPs generally seem to be very stingy with prefixes, and so they're not going to want to do PD per host. ISPs have no motivation to stop you from just using SLAC. The real scenario where this comes into play is when you have a managed network, for example, in an enterprise setting, and the network operator wants to be able to control the allocation of addresses. So only devices that are like, that have some kind of authentication are allowed to get addresses at all. And they want to be able to know which address goes to which device.
Yeah.
And so PD per host gives them that. And so that's the scenario where PD per host happens. I really don't think it's ever going to happen on a home network. And if it does, it's a home network that's got somebody who's a knowledgeable operator. And so if they break their system, they know how to fix it.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so that's the idea. And then it's kind of, more for the managed case.
Yeah. This is really an edge case, right? Like what we're trying to do here is make it so that in a managed network scenario, we don't wind up, creating confusion on the network by advertising a prefix that really isn't needed.
Yeah.
And so this is really like just a very corner case, and neatening it up would be great. And I think it's pretty straightforward how to add the language to neaten it up. So I'm totally in favor of doing that if everybody else agrees.
Yeah. So maybe sounds already better now.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure yet. But,
all right.
We can try some
All right. Well, let me
for that.
propose some text then. Oh wow.
What's up?
Oh, I'm just so I just looked in my SNAC simple repository, and there's an uncommitted change, which is challenging. I think I'm just going to git stash it for now. Okay. All right. So so the change for this. So now we have the challenge that I can either pull up my Emacs window and share my screen again, or I can just make the edit while you guys twiddle your thumbs, or there may be a way to do that. I think I can just edit the file. So suitable prefix is the okay. Suitable on-link prefixes. SNAC routers must evaluate prefixes that are advertised on-link as to their suitability for use in communicating with the device in the stub network. If no suitable prefix is found, a SNAC router must advertise one. An on-link prefix is considered suitable if it is advertised on the link in a prefix information option with the following prefix information option header values. 1, prefix length value is 64. 2, the L flag bit is set. 3, the A flag bit is set. And 4, the preferred lifetime is 30 minutes or more. The prefix is not considered a suitable on-link prefix if the L flag bit is set, but the A flag bit is not set. So this is what we would have to change. And the way I think we would change it, so we would want to reference the PIOP flag option document. Oops. Yeah, this. And so this is a bit that is in the option. Sorry. Hang on a sec. Here we go. Okay, so the P flag is this bit, I guess. LARP. Wonder if anybody realized they were doing that on purpose. Anyway, so the P flag, so basically I think the change would be something like oops, no. Why is it? Okay, so the L flag bit is set, and either the A flag or the P flag bit is set, and the preferred lifetime is 30 minutes. So prefix is not considered on link if the L flag bit is set, but either the A flag bit nor the P flag bit is set. This indicates the node accessibility. Okay, so that. Whoops. That's interesting.
Looks like an older one.
Yeah. All right, let's try that again.
Yeah,
Possibly it's, oh, here it is.
I think, was it or not? No, there's a newer one. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So it's RFC 9663.
And what did the title say? Something about large broadcast networks.
So yeah, so it says using DHCPv6 prefix delegation to allocate unique IPv6 addresses per client in large broadcast networks. So the point being that, like if you have a home network with where your ISP is allocated you a /56 or a /60, that is not a large broadcast network, and you probably don't want to allocate a unique IPv6 prefix per host or per client. But there are cases where you would. And those would typically be networks managed by enterprises. So,
Yep.
yep. So, all right. So, okay. So I think that makes the change that we want. And we should add a reference. Oops. I think this is a normative reference.
Yeah, the one for the bit I think is right. The P flag. The other one was kind of informational, like how to use it.
Well, that's an interesting question. The P flag is not an RFC yet. And we do need to reference that. So
Yes, that's a normative reference.
yeah. Okay, so oh, this is a different section. Good thing I searched for that. But so
This is the sending part, right?
yeah.
When it sends prefix. Oh.
What's that? that takes care of the appendices. So, and then probably, I think this isn't 6-man. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah, so that should take care of the references. So either the A flag bit or the P flag bit reference is set, and yeah. So a prefix is not considered suitable if the L flag bit is set, but neither the A flag bit nor the, I mean, really, how about if the L flag bit is not set, or if neither the A flag bit nor the A flag bit is set, oops, nor the L flag bit, or the P flag bit is set. Okay, so suppose we should say, well, we already have an appendix that says this, so we don't really need to go into more detail about it.
Yeah, this is only for the flags that must be set. I think.
Yeah,
We don't
we have
say,
the.
well, we don't say about the rest actually.
Yeah. Oh, right. So we don't actually talk about the R flag bit either. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highlights 2 flags in the text basically.
Okay, then I guess we could actually just not have that. Then we need reference. All right, so your theory is that 9663 is informative, which I think makes sense. So we'll put that here. And then okay, so now my only concern about this is using this editing method is now if I say commit changes, what does that do? I guess it
creates a commit
You
for
get
you.
to,
oh, I see we can create a new branch and start a pull request. Great.
Sorry, quick question. Which was the RFC number where the P is defined? Not 9663?
So 9663 is where prefix delegation, the PD per host stuff is talked about. And then the document, so this document is currently being edited by the RFC, or actually, no, I think this document is still being reviewed by the ISG. So it's not really in the publication queue yet, and it doesn't have an RFC number, but it's very close to being finished in the ISG. So it's not an RFC yet, but we now have a reference for it. So
I just want to know.
I look at it in the chat. Yeah.
No, so to be done with it. So we are not going to change this, right? So I just want to refer to the right thing there.
Yeah, the P flag already has a bit allocated, so that's
Allocated, okay,
pretty well cast in concrete. We don't have to
Awesome.
worry about that changing.
Good.
Yeah. We will call this. Okay. So, and then that was for this issue. This is issue number 38. Is it fixes that does it?
I always use closes.
Right. Yeah, they both work. You can also just tag it in the development on the right column.
Yeah, development cogwheel. Yeah.
I'm not seeing that, but that's all right.
The far right column on the bottom. Yeah, your mouse was right. The development on the far right column.
Above when it says unsubscribe.
I'm like totally not seeing what you guys are talking about.
Do you see the unsubscribe button
Right to
I
the
know.
on the far right?
Oh, on the far right.
Or-
Yes.
Yeah, go up. Right above it's development, and you click on that gear.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, anyway, this will do it. So, I think. So, are we okay to merge this? Does anybody want more time?
Yeah. It's usually good to check. I think. Offline, I mean.
I mean, I think
Okay.
it's fine to merge it. We'll be taking a look at the, just as totally as an individual here, I think it's fine to merge it, and we can take a look at the, the full diff once it's sent, once it's updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well, that's fine.
this will, if somebody objects to this change, then I think it's fine to have a further discussion and back it out. So it's not like we're,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, we'll be
committing
going through
to,
the anyway when we meet in
Yeah.
Dublin. So
right. Cool. All right. I'm gonna merge it then. Okay, so we should now have 12 issues. No, we have 13. What happened?
refresh.
I'm not sure what happened there. I guess I should have used your, wait, that's weird. Huh, okay, well, I'm gonna just close it. So we now have 12 issues. Use Wi-Fi everywhere rather than Wi-Fi or, okay,
That's the typos. I think the last line.
advertisements, right? Okay, so let me see if we can. All right, so what happened?
But it should be okay, right, to fix those things later on. So maybe you shouldn't look
Okay.
now at other issues that are
That's a fair point.
open for discussion.
Yeah, so specify using IA prefix hint. The SNAC router should request Stub Network. SNAC router should request using the IA. Okay, so this is just basically saying let's update the text to make a specific, to explicitly say how to do that. Is that right? This was
Yeah.
oh, this was Tim Winters. Yeah. Okay,
Also,
so yeah, I
Notice
think that's
he changed the should capitals, so I don't know if that was intended.
probably not.
I don't think
I
we have
mean,
to change that.
yeah, I guess the only question that I have about this is there a reason that this isn't a must?
Yeah, I think if you can always request smaller length and then basically allocate 64s from that
Sure,
wider
but
prefix. So that's what you can do. If there's a particular reason why the stub router needs for another function, for example, more prefixes, then it can be useful to only ask once and then serve multiple prefixes that you need from that single prefix. And if the router basically or the server gives you /64 and you asked for a /60, for example, then it's also not a big problem. You can still use it for for the stub network basically.
Okay.
So I think that could be the reason why it's not a must.
Well, I'm wondering, is the requirement that the stub, so that we use a stub network prefix with a length of 64, not the request. So in other words, you can request something, a 64 or 62 or 60, get sets of addresses, but then use the /64 prefix.
So the general direction that we've been going with prefix subdelegation recently has been that the edge router asks for as big a prefix as it wants or as it thinks it needs, because aggregation is good. And essentially that's the reason why we would want a larger than /64, is because we want aggregation. So so the home router should request a /48, and maybe it gets a /48, maybe it gets a /60, who knows? Maybe it gets a /64. And then it uses whatever it gets. So a SNAC router is never a customer edge router, except when it is, well, actually, no, it's never a customer edge router. So something that is like, I mean, we have, for example, the thread border router is one of the sort of motivating use cases for the SNAC router. But if you have a thread border router that is also a customer edge router, it's not a SNAC router. It's an infrastructure router. Like the thread border router function is part of the infrastructure router that is the customer edge router. And so the behavior in that case is going to be not something we have to dictate here. So we're only talking about SNAC routers here. That means the SNAC router is never a customer edge router. And
Sure.
so that being the case, our general wish and intention for devices in the home that are doing prefix delegation is that they should never ask for anything but a /64, because if they ask for more than a /64 sort of in anticipation that they might use it, like, how do we know what the right number is? And it turns out that's actually not an easy problem, and it's not that hard to just ask for multiple /64s. So you're getting no real benefit from asking for the narrower prefix length, but you're incurring a significant cost in doing so. For example, it may be that your home router has enough /64s, but they can't be aggregated because they're not next to each other. So now you've actually screwed yourself by asking for a /60, for example. So maybe there were 16 subnets that you could have gotten, but they aren't sequential.
But what's the problem there? Because if you ask for a 60 and the home router can't give you that, then wouldn't it give you 64, for example?
Of course, yeah. But then you're going to have to, but then you're going to have to ask again. And if you're going to have to ask again, then why not just always ask again? Like, what's the benefit of having two different ways of solving the same problem?
Okay, I see. Yeah. And avoid that.
It's just extra complexity. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even know, like part of the problem here is, so we've been dancing around this issue since, God, I don't know, certainly the mid 2000s, and like there was a document that was proposed by one of the big ISPs, can't remember which, Chris Grundeman or something, proposed it, and it was this hierarchical subdelegation thing. And the challenge that we had was we could not figure out how to specify it in a way that didn't waste addresses. And that's why we ultimately wound up saying, look, don't subdelegate anything but a /64, because specifying the right way to do subdelegations of things bigger than a /64 is hard. So why bother? So anyway, yeah. So I would say we should in fact say the SNAC router must request a stub network prefix with a length of 64. And that the way it does that is by sending an IAPD, etc. And we could even add some text to talk about what to do if multiple prefixes are needed, which is send multiple IAPDs. So
yeah, you could have a
with
stub
that
router
in
with
mind,
2 interfaces basically. Yeah, so it has, for example, 2 thread radios in there, creating 2 mesh networks, or a thread radio
exactly.
and another standard radio. So it needs 2 of those.
Yep.
It would not be typically a very high number, I think. Like it doesn't have 64 technologies inside probably, but 2 is still feasible, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so is that text actually in the document? Yes. Okay, so a SNAC router decided must Okay, so then the advice here is, I mean, I think, yeah, in this case, I guess I'm like specifying additional detail here is probably not worth it. It's just an error if the router gives you a prefix that's longer than you asked for, or shorter than you asked for. So, which isn't to say that it can't happen, but if it does, it's not our problem. So that's my claim. Does anybody object to that?
Okay, I thought it was at least useful to have this text in there.
Yeah.
About the different length. Yeah, just
I
because
think
it was originally specified as a hint, not a requirement. So a hint is
Yeah.
a hint. So yeah.
Yeah, right. We can't control what the server does, but if it sends us more than we asked for, it's not our problem, is my point. So we definitely need to say what to do if it sends us more than we asked for, but I think we should make it as simple as possible. And I think this text is fine. Like, we don't need to do anything more than this. So,
Right.
yep. All right. So, is everybody okay with this change?
Yes.
Hearing no objections? Uh,
Oh, there's one D in the title. That should be an A, I think. Now it says ID.
correct.
Yep, like that.
Okay. Okay, and this is number 90. Oops, I haven't actually created it yet. Okay, any objections to committing this?
Not for me.
All right. Okay, this time it did close it. Great. So Karen pointed out the text in this section can be confusing when dealing with two suitable prefixes. If there are two suitable prefixes, one of them will still need to be deprecated. So, right, okay, so this was a long conversation actually. So, yeah, so right, yeah, I remember this conversation now. So we're not going to get to this today, I don't think. Okay. So decide on the RA flag bit position. I think we got that allocated.
Yep.
So,
Very close, I think.
Yes.
yeah.
That's my conclusion.
Oops.
I left it open just for you to look at it, Ted.
Right. So do we need to say anything here?
I don't think. Yeah, the text is pointing basically to the draft that defines the flag. So I don't think much more is needed. Yeah, I think we call
Okay,
it
here we go.
subrouter RA flag. Yeah.
Yeah. Must be set. And yeah, so
Snack
right.
router,
In the RA flags field. Yeah. Okay. So this is all correct with respect to the allocation that occurred. Okay, great. So, all right, we should close that.
Do we know the bit position? And I assume there is no need to specify the precise bit location here.
Right, that was the discussion. So yeah, we do know the bit position. The bit position is in the RA flag bits, not in the flag option, and so we can just use it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and we've closed the issue. All right, we're now down to 10 issues. This is very exciting. Soon we'll be in single digits. Clarify how. Oh yeah. So
Oh, this can actually be closed, by the way.
yeah.
There is another issue open that says approximately the same thing. So I thought we should close this one, and then if any work needs to be done, continue with the other issue about the same topic.
Okay. Any objections to closing this? Unheard.
Yeah, there was some in the past. I think there was some text suggesting that the home gateway could be a SNAC router, but I
Mhm.
checked again today, and that did not seem to be the case. So it
Right.
says that home gateway can be a stub router, but that does not say that it's necessarily a SNAC router.
Mhm.
So, but that might be something we could think for the text for the other issue to say that, for example, home gateway or CE router is not SNAC router, to make that explicit.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, one quick question, one unrelated question to this. Do I remember correctly that we decided that the RA flag that says I'm a stub router, I'm a SNAC router, if we have such a device, we won't set that on that device, correct?
That's right, because it's not a SNAC router.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have to be mindful that like we can have a device that kind of acts like one, but it's because it's doing more, it's not, the flag would not be set. So
Yeah, I mean, I think, it might be worth having a document somewhere that says how a CE router implements something similar, but I think that would probably be a thread specific document, because I think that for just a regular old IP router, we already know how to do that, right? It's got two subnets and there's two RAs. Does that
Yeah,
make
I think
sense?
the CE router RFC specified that thing, like that you have to set an IPv6
Yeah.
prefix for the link, etc. So that was already
yeah,
specified
no, no.
there.
It's great. So the background for me, the way I'm thinking is that like we're thinking of ways, can I identify other like thread border routers, let's say, for example, that are in my network?
Yeah.
So we have to be mindful that if one of them is a gateway, it might not, can I use this flag for that? No, we should be
No.
careful if we want to use this flag.
Yeah.
That's my.
Yeah. So that again is probably something that goes in the thread spec. And if we want to be able to identify border routers, we need some other thing. And actually we can probably just use DNSSD, because we already have, the mesh cop thing that gets advertised. And if we want something that's not mesh cop, we could do that too. So, all right. So, so the conclusion here was that we might need a PR to clarify the CE router / SNAC router relation. But I think my claim is that that's really thread specific. Does anybody disagree with that? In other words, it's not an IETF issue.
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
these are IETF concepts. We have SNAC router and we have CE router. So
Sure.
and the
But
question is basically about yeah. In general, the question is about, well, what about the combination of these things? And it could be that we don't need text for that, but I
But
think we
can we
also,
just you mentioned just a few minutes ago one sentence that our C router can have stub router SNAC router functionality, but it's not a SNAC router. Can we just add one sentence statement like that and it can take care of it, this issue?
I think that's correct, but Esco, do you disagree with that?
sorry, what was the comment? I could
So,
hear
so
it
the
not
suggestion,
well.
yeah, the suggestion is that we just make it clear in the definition of what a SNAC router is, that it is not a customer edge router.
Yeah, that's I think what I also thought about. Yes.
Okay,
We need to
great.
do.
So,
So that means you can never put those two router functions together in the same device.
right, because the thing is that a stub router is by definition something that is opportunistically connecting to infrastructure and adding a stub network. And if you've got a CE router, that is infrastructure. And so there's no way for a CE router to opportunistically connect to infrastructure because it is infrastructure.
So
Yeah,
I could never
may
produce
one.
that. I just a question on that. Could I never produce a router that acts as a CE router but also provides a stub network?
But
Or
yes,
No,
of course.
or something?
So it can provide us. So if you think about it, any CE router is also a stub router most of the time, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be a stub router. It could be a transit router,
Correct.
but
it's
in its
configured,
normal
you have to put it-
configuration, it's a stub router. So,
Okay.
yeah. So stub network. This is a so.
Got it.
So I think maybe, I mean, one place we could do this is in the glossary. I'm not sure that's the right place, but I could add some text here that just says, whoops, just happened.
Ted, before that, can I ask you a future question?
You
Let's say
may.
you have stub router functionality on home gateway, and then maybe Thread also provides some kind of stub router functionality. I know you can negotiate, you can have two stub routers, and we have this prefix allocation mechanism, but do we need some kind of configuration grid to turn off the stub router functionality on home router, or is that out of scope of this document?
So I suspect that it would go the opposite way, which is that the home router is kind of the obvious thing to actually act as the router for the stub network. There may be reasons like coax reasons, for example, that you might not want that, but pretty much every stub router that I know of has a Wi-Fi interface and a Thread interface. So like in the use case that we already know about, that's really not an issue. So the question is,
So there
would
is
we?
no need to, we don't need a knob to turn off stub router functionality on CE router or a home gateway router.
Well, so I mean, let's just game this out, right? So suppose like we don't do anything. So we now have a home router. I mean, this question was originally raised by Eero. So let's take the example of an Eero router, which has both the home router function and the thread router function in the same device. So that is a home router, which has a connection to the stub network. It has a route to the stub network, and it is providing an address on the stub network. And the address that it's providing on the stub network probably ought to supersede any other address that some other SNAC router might provide, right? So one thing we can say is that if there's already and by the way, the SNAC router bit would not be set in that case if we're talking about Wi-Fi, right? So here's a stub network, which is let's just use Wi-Fi as the example because it's easy. So Stub Network provided by your home router. It's got RAs advertised on it. Those RAs do not have the SNAC router flag set. And so now another another stub router comes along, and it connects to what is essentially a stub network. Let's say that your CE router has two stub networks depending from it. One is the infrastructure network that the SNAC router is connected to as an infrastructure network, and the other is a stub network that the SNAC router sees as its own stub network. So the SNAC router is going to look on the stub network, and it's going to see a prefix advertised by the home router, the CE router, on that stub network. So presumably it's not going to advertise a prefix. It could still do all of the other stub router functions. We kind of don't need it to, though. So I think there's a case to be made that that it would be worth documenting exactly how that's done. With that said, right now our current use case for SNAC routers is the thread border router use case. We don't actually have a use case like the one that I just described, and so it's a little bit speculative to talk about how to configure that until we have that use case. But I think the short answer is that, like, if you see if you have a SNAC router and it's connected to a stub network. So in other words, a SNAC router has by definition, it has an infrastructure network, that's the northbound interface, and it has a stub network, that's the southbound interface. And it's connected to the stub network on its southbound interface, and it sees a router advertisement on that network that doesn't have the SNAC router flag bit set. Then that's a pretty clear indication that this network is actually not a stub network that it needs to serve. This is an infrastructure network. And so it shouldn't be doing any stub router function on that network. It should just treat it as another infrastructure network. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think, it may be worth talking about that in here somewhere. And I guess
So we have a statement, we have a statement where we say that the prefixes have been timed out, and then a new stub router tries to get prefixes. I think somewhere in that section we could describe this specific scenario, maybe, instead of
yeah.
having a new section on it.
Yeah, so we have the suitable prefix, but that's not the one we want. And we were talking about, let's see, I think we have an issue. Add a state machine for NAT64. No, that's not it. Right. So we had said here, I'm going to change the name of this. So the conclusion of this is a different issue, right? This is the stub router deprecating its on-link prefix issue. And we said the conclusion of the working group is that we actually needed to have an explicit state machine for the stub router on-link prefix because it's different than the state machine for infrastructure. So if that's the case, then one of the things that this state machine needs to talk about is what happens if the SNAC router sees an RIO on its stub network that does not have the SNAC router flag bit set. In this case, the SNAC router should treat this network as an infrastructure network. Does that make sense? So I'm going to change the name of this. Okay, so that's a second state machine, which I think we don't have time to do in this meeting. So so then I think the ICMP v6 RA behavior to expect here yeah, I mean, so we were looking at the well, that was the state machine, but just looking at the glossary where it defines what a SNAC router is. SNAC router. So oh, I'm not editing it. That's what. Yeah. Stub router there. 7084. Okay, so that's my proposed change here, which I think addresses Esco's issue. Does that make sense to you, Esco?
He has dropped off. He had different meeting to go to.
Oh, whoops. All right. Well, does anybody else have any feelings about this?
I'm
Like the
okay
only
doing it.
downside to this is that we're doing this in the glossary, but I think it's okay.
I think this is a good solution to
Okay.
the issue that's
All right.
noted.
I'm gonna just
Yeah.
I'm gonna just make this into a pull request.
Yeah.
And then we'll leave it. We can discuss this in Dublin. So let's see. Okay, and that's going to relate to .42. Doesn't seem to be willing to actually let me make that change. Okay, I think we're in business now. All right, so, and we'll leave this for ESCO to look at, and, or we just talked about it in Dublin. So, all right. Let's go back to here. Here. Okay, and then, so we've covered that. Are the RA requirements for SNAC router only for RA beacons or also for unicast RAs? So I think the answer to this is that unicast arrays and beacons should have the same contents. In fact, I think that's kind of a requirement.
I agree. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah,
And
4861 specifies that, does it not?
well, 4861 allows us to have more than one RA per router so that we can include extra information, but it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't act, I don't think it specifically excludes having different values sent in a unicast response, but it certainly doesn't encourage us to do that. And I can't see a reason why we would. So, all right, so let's see, let's think about this as a series of action items. So is the unicast RA required to have the same RAOs as the RA beacon? Yes. Okay, so we're talking about, let's see if there's text about this. Okay, so we actually already say this. So we say an active SNAC router sends periodic multicasts as well as unicasts on the infrastructure. Oh wait, so
Following those exists with
yeah.
page format 4861.
So we're already saying that they're the same. Okay, and then if we write requirements for the RA beacon, so we did. Do we expect this? So this was actually written before we wrote those requirements, so that may be why this question came up. Do we expect the SNAC router to always respond? No, and I think we covered that. Should we clarify what the requirements are? Yes, and we've covered that. So I think this was covered. Let me see what the pull request was. This is covered in CR number 80. Well, so
But I mean, the current document resolves these, right? I think that's really what you need to say.
correct. Yeah.
Response to the question, because good question, and the current document resolves them.
Yeah, that text was introduced in July, so I think that's after the issue.
Okay. To re-ember for document +1 or +2, SNAC router support for converting to managed router. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. Outline general solution. Okay, so this was, Elliot wanted a diagram. Is anybody any good at drawing diagrams?
Which one's that?
This is number 75.
Okay.
I can take
So-
a stab at it and give you initial diagram, and then we can clean it up together.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, one thing that Elliot says here is that we should really keep the glossary simple, and if that's so, then perhaps the change that we just made in the glossary is not the right approach. But
And I think all we want to show is an infrastructure network, a home router, and stub router, and the stub network, right?
I think it would be good to show multiple stub network or stub routers, because that that makes it clear that like, you know, it's possible for there to be more than one stub router connecting the infrastructure and the stub network, and a lot of there's a lot of text in this document that talks about what to do and how to make that work. But yeah,
To describe
aside
the figure itself.
yeah, and so apparently there's a way to
Yeah,
add
I'll take.
okay, thanks. So I'm going to assign this to you, assuming I can. Looks like I can. Let's see. Okay, so that leaves us with this. So state begin advertising. Router sends a router advertise. So this is line 458 now. This might be the right line. No. Yes. Okay. So this is the one. So we say state begin advertising, must return to the state begin advertising state. But we didn't update this. So state begin advertising. Okay, I think that's all that we're being asked to do here. Okay, so okay, so is it okay to merge this fix?
Yeah, it's basically an editorial changes, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. So that leaves us the last two issues. Sorry, the last issue is the cosmetic issue that we decided we weren't going to do here. So I think that means that we've gone through the whole issue list. Do we have anything else we need to do at this point in this meeting?
We do not. Garrett?
All right. I vote that we adjourn.
Yeah, and if before next meeting we can clean up cosmetic changes also, the list will look even thinner.
Yeah, and I can at least try to get those sort of larger changes that we discussed.
Are state machines going to be very complex? I think my focus would be to get the mate content in. So we have two pending state machines. Are they too complex, or they're just a couple of timers and states to worry about?
They're fairly straightforward, but you know, one needs to sit down and actually figure it out. So
Yeah, so I mean, those are important. And if we can get ESCO at that time and have some discussion, hopefully Jonathan and Upton are also there so that we can hash out the technical aspects.
yep. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ted. Thanks,
Uh-huh.
everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye bye.